Welcome in for your morning sadhana, Vinyasa style postural practice. Today, you're probably going to want a couple blocks or books work well too. And a strap is going to be really handy. If you don't have a strap, you can improvise. A pillowcase works well, or a necktie or a thin blanket could be used as a strap as well, even a shirt. So once you've got your stuff, go ahead and find your seat at your mat and let's get started. Mm. So if you'd like, you can settle in and prop up on I've got a little meditation cushion, but a pillow works just as well, or a folded blanket. And I'll start sitting crisscross, but you're also welcome to sit back on your heels today if that's more comfortable for you. Find a place you can settle in comfort and ease. And if it feels safe, you can close down the windows of your eyes. Of course, if you prefer, you can keep your eyes open, but your gaze drawn down to an unmoving point. Allowing ourselves a few moments to land and fully arrive in the practice today. And you might take a scan of your system as you begin. I like to work my way from the base of my body, from my feet, the points of contact with the earth, all the way up toward the crown of my head. Some might prefer to scan from crown toward feet. That's okay too. And then start to follow the movements of your breath. And if you haven't already landed naturally there, I invite you to bring your inhales and your exhales through your nose now. If you're familiar with Ujjayi, you can tap into that. If you're unfamiliar, simply touch the tip of your tongue to the hard palate, that bump behind your teeth. And with each exhale, there's a very, very subtle narrowing, not so much a constriction, a very subtle narrowing at the very back of the throat, the glottis, so that as you're exhaling, you can hear the audible sound of your breath. It's like the whooshing sound of a wave. The ocean breath, Ujjayi. And allow your mind to follow each time you inhale. Simply watch the inhale. And each time you exhale, simply watch the exhale. And so our practice this morning is going to work with a simple, but not necessarily easy concept. And that is defining mindfulness. This is a word that um, gets tossed about a lot in wellness spaces and yoga spaces. And so today, what I'd like to explore with you is, what does mindfulness mean and how can we apply it? How can we circle back to it when we are moving in mindlessness? How can we come back to mindfulness in our practice, in our bodies, in our lives off of the mat? So John Kabat-Zinn kind of coined this term. He said, mindfulness is awareness that arises through, there's 4 points: paying attention, on purpose, in the present moment, and non-judgmentally. So again, simple, however, not always easy. If you're still sitting with your breath, you can stay anchored in on that for a few more rounds. And this sense of mindfulness, he says, is in service of self-understanding and of wisdom, when we are paying attention on purpose in the present moment and non-judgmentally, we become more fully immersed in each moment. And this is one of the great, great gifts of ancient practices such as yoga, such as meditation, that we might be able to drop more fully into present moment living. So I encourage you as we begin our movement this morning to check in, evaluate, reevaluate as often as you'd like whether or not you're paying attention on purpose. And if what you're paying attention to is in the present moment. And the most important piece, non-judgmentally. So let's begin to come into a little bit of gentle movement. If you're still propped up on a cushion, blankets, block, pillow, you can set that off to the side. Settle your bones down into the earth. And I'm going to go ahead and grab hold of my knees. You can find a comfortable space for your hands to land. And start to circle your whole body, whole torso, without force and without hurry, just giving space for some fluid movement for the whole length of the spine. In fact, you might want to allow the weight of your head to follow so that even cervical spine comes into the mix. And of course, you can pause in any spot that feels like, ooh, that seems like a good spot to land for a breath or two. You can land there. Let's go ahead and reverse the direction if you haven't already. And then go ahead and settle back towards center. And let's breathe into a very simple Sukhasana twist. You can inhale your fingertips up high. Perhaps you want to lift your gaze to follow. With your exhale, take your right hand across midline. So it comes atop your left knee or upper thigh. Left fingertips can rest to the earth behind you. And if it's appropriate this early in the practice, you might use your upper thighs a little bit of traction to help you spin deeper, just if that feels appropriate. And then go ahead and inhale all your fingers reaching high again at center. Breathe on down through heart center and take a fold. So that could be to palms, to forearms, perhaps all the way to forehead. Find a breath or two. And then go ahead and walk it back up. Let's swap the crisscross of the legs. So bring the opposite foot to the front or to the top. Just to switch up the seated posture for this second side. Inhale your fingertips high once again. Your gaze might lift to follow. And then exhale, take your left hand across midline, find your right upper thigh or knee. You might use that for a little bit of leverage to spin deeper if that feels appropriate. And see if you can watch your breath with mindfulness. Allow your inhales to lift you tall, and just if it's appropriate, so feeling in, noticing. Perhaps the exhales allow you to spin deeper. And then let's breathe all the fingertips back to center. Go ahead and exhale down through your heart. Land to your hands, forearms, forehead. It's a gentle fold from Sukhasana for a breath or two. And then go ahead and walk your hands all the way back up. Good. You can find your strap that's hopefully nearby. I'm going to spin so that you can see, and then I'm the long way on my mat. We'll transition the foundation to something a little different. So your left leg can extend out long. Take your right foot to the inside of your left thigh. This right knee is bent deeply, as in Janu Shirshasana. Drag your left toes back towards your shin. So strap can help you. If you're familiar with the pose, you know where we're going with it. So perhaps you want to take the strap to help bind below your toes. Some folks, it's early in the practice, but for my bendy or hypermobile friends, a block beyond the sole of your foot could work well. So feel free to grab that too. Inhale your fingertips high. And on your exhale, think like telescoping up through your rib cage, hinge it forward. And Begin with a nice long spine. So actually, let's all keep our arms along, upper arms alongside our ears initially for three, two, one, and then go ahead and let yourself round. That might mean hands to the earth, to your shin, to your strap. Allow your head to rest heavy. And find a little squeeze between your right upper thigh and right calf. A little squeeze in the bent knee. Notice how that helps slide your right hip forward. And then go ahead and inhale, reach all the way up. Breathe your hands down through your heart. And then leave your right foot just as it is, but you can bend into your left knee. So again, strap can be really handy for this next one, or peace fingers of your left hand, find your left big toe. You can find a place to rest your right hand that allows you to feel steady and anchored. We're simply starting to create a pattern of movement here. So either with your big toe bound, or if you're working with the strap, you've got it wrapped below your toes and you've got both tails of the strap bound in your left hand. So it's left hand to big toe or left hand to both tails of the strap. Start to extend your left leg. Now, notice where your torso is in space. If you hinged back a lot in order to accomplish that, see if you can lift your rib cage up above your pelvic bowl. With my long limbs, the strap makes it actually quite a bit more challenging. So I'm going to stick with the toe bind here. And remember, you can rest your fingertips, or perhaps if you're feeling steady, you rest lightly to your knee, or maybe even reach your right fingertips high. And then with your exhale, go ahead and bend your right knee if you're not already there. Lower your left knee rather, lower your left foot down and go ahead and extend your right leg long. Same sequence, second side. So we start with Janu Shirshasana. The left foot comes into the right thigh. I'm not used to not mirroring, so excuse my rights and lefts getting a little switched up here. Right toes drag back towards your shin, so it's really active. Remember, there's a squeeze of left thigh into left calf, so that kind of switches the left hip on and brings it forward. Reach your fingertips high. And remember, as we hinge forward, we'll pause here and think telescoping out long with the ribs. Upper arms are towards your ears. Three, two, one, and then go ahead and fold it down. You can get a little rounded in your back, rest your head heavy. The block beyond the foot might work. You can bind with your strap. Hands can land atop shin or thigh in your fold. And then breathe it all the way back up. Go ahead and breathe your hands down through your heart. Take a bend into your right knee as we prepare for that extension, kind of like a little mini Padangustasana pose. So this time around, it's right peace fingers to right big toe, or if you're working with the strap, it's strap just below the toes. Both tails are bound in the right hand. So either way, your right hand is making the bind. Okay. Left hand can rest behind you as you get steady or onto your lap or knee. Go ahead and extend your right leg long. If you feel steady here, you might rest your left hand atop your thigh if not already there, or reach upward to the sky. See if you can lift your gaze. And if this is a little bit of a balance challenge for you, these are great moments to tune into our level of mindfulness as we're weebling and wobbling. Can you also pay attention on purpose and, especially with the balances, non-judgmentally? Two, one. Go ahead and bend your knee. Rest your right foot down. Bring your left knee up to meet your right. Again, keep your strap within reach. We're resting down now onto the earth, but you might want that strap for some binds in just a moment here. Go ahead and slide all the way to the earth. And then take your right ankle atop your left thighs in supine pigeon. This is going to feel like enough sensation for some. If you'd like, you can hug in at your hamstrings or your shin on the left side. Let's start there for a few breaths. And then all variations, and the right thigh can be quite a bit further away. It doesn't have to be, all the way in toward the heart. But all variations now work to extend your left leg. If reaching your left foot feels like witchcraft, science fiction, we're going to take the strap. Okay, so the strap works too. You can take it just below your toes. And then all variations, either binding both tails of the strap, round head, back, neck, shoulders toward lifting. So think like as if you're heading toward an arm balance, right? Or maybe you're right up on the sole of your left foot. If the right knee can hinge back a bit closer to your heart. Three, two, and one. Exhale on down, release the strap, bend your left knee. You can land the sole of your left foot to the earth. And then before we swap to the second side, another twist. So hop your bum just slightly over to the right, and then allow your left hip and knee to roll down. We're going to keep this figure four of the lower body. And then you can come toward cactus arms or extend your arms out wide like a T. Perhaps your gaze wants to be sent over your right fingertips. And in these quieter postures, great moments to come back to our sankalpa, our intention for the practice, and an open field for awareness. And if you're not paying attention to the breath and to the body and to the practice, also notice the patterns of like, what does my mind want to pay attention to? Unconsciously, right? So different than mindfulness because you're not paying attention on purpose, but when the mind is wandering, it's kind of unconsciously choosing what it wants to pay attention to. So rope it back into the present, and then draw your navel back. Take a roll on up towards center. Untangle your lower body so right foot comes to the earth this time and left ankle atop your right thigh, as in pigeon in the lower body. You can hang out here if that feels like quite enough. You can hug your right hamstrings or shin in. We will hang out right there for a few breaths before we add anything on. And you can experiment mindfully with where your left knee is in space. So find the sensation that's, feels like a growing edge for you. And then go ahead and extend your right leg long. So all variations, again, we're looking for a bind, and that could be something like this, right? If your body thinks that's comical, and find your strap. That's what our tools are for. So either bind with or without strap. It's both hands, either to both tails or to either edge of your foot. And now we're rounding, rolling head, neck, and shoulders up and off the earth. Think tracking your navel down onto the mat. So low back is really making a lot of contact. Could be here, but head, neck, and shoulders are up and off the earth. And you're breathing and you're staying connected into the moment, to all the sensations, even if they're challenging, for another three, two, and one. Release the bind. Bend your right knee. Land your right foot down. So this time it's a little bitty hop with your hips over toward the left. And then fall on down toward right knee and right hip, but leave the figure four in your lower body. A pigeon twist. You can find cactus arms or extended arms. Gaze might want to float over your left fingertips. Remember, in these quieter postures, it's a wonderful opportunity to kind of, toss the lasso over a wandering mind if that's what's happening. Our objective here is to engage in the practice of paying attention on purpose. And then go ahead and draw your navel back. So it's a lift towards center, untangle lower body. You can wiggle back toward the center of your mat. Here's where you either roll up and down toward a seat, or you can roll down to one side and press yourself up toward a seat. I'll meet you there. And you can either roll up and over your feet and ankles, or you can sweep your feet around behind you. We're going to meet in a table. Drop your navel and reach your heart forward. Think of broadening your collarbones toward the front edge of your mat. And then on your exhale, press the earth away. We're taking this a little bit slower than perhaps your natural cat cow, really taking a moment to pay attention to each articulation of the spine. Scoot your navel upward toward the ceiling. Press the earth away broad and between your shoulder blades. And then for one more round, drop your navel broad in collarbones. And then exhale, press the earth away. Good. Slide back toward neutral. You can step your right foot forward, help with your hands if you'd like. Lift your right foot to the front edge of your mat. And then sink your hips forward. I like to use my blocks with this one as little arm extenders. Sink your hips forward until you get a sensation across the front of your left hip. Optional to lift your heart and chest if you like that little extension option. But really, this morning, we're looking for sensation across the front of the left hip. That's our objective here. So find that first. And then lift back towards something more like neutral. I'm going to show it from the front so you can see what I'm doing here. So hips are in something more like neutral. Take your right hand to your right hip pocket. You're going to press back with your right hand. Lift your left fingertips high. And on your exhale, lean on over toward the right edge of your mat so you can breathe some space up the left side ribs. And if you are feeling super uber steady and you want to give a little balance, your proprioception, nothing like a few wobbles to really plug you into the present moment, you might lean a little bit further. Lean a little further for another breath. And then come on back to center. Good. Release your hands down to find the earth or your blocks. Step your right knee back alongside your left. And then this time, your left foot leads. So remember, you can help with your hands to step your left foot forward or one big old step. You can get there from down dog if you prefer. And we'll begin first by looking for that sensation across the front of the right hip. So remember, it's a really low, we're dropping the hips really low until we feel sensation here. And there's an option for those that like of kind of lifting toward more of a spinal extension, lifting the heart, if you like that. If you're losing the sensation here in gaining the back bend, then back off. Back off. We're looking for that. And then go ahead and lift back towards something more neutral. We're going to add in that lateral flexion here. So this time it's left hand to the inside pocket of the left hip, right fingertips reach high. And on your exhale, lean your right fingertips over toward the left edge of the mat. Remember if you want to kind of challenge your proprioception a little bit further, you can lean a little bit more into it. And you feel that those wobblies start to kick in. And your mind hopefully will really anchor into what's happening in your body, paying attention on purpose. And then go ahead and come all the way back to center. Breathe your hands down, frame up your front foot, step your left knee back to meet with your right. And if you're up on blocks, go ahead and come back down onto the earth. Tuck your 10 toes under behind you and take a seat back for just a breath with your 10 toes tucked under, tiptoe chair. And then breathe your hands forward. Set your upper body foundation, so fingers spread wide. We're heading toward our first down dog. Reach your hips up and back. Allow this first one to feel a little creaky and uncomfortable. That can happen. So you could do some knee bends. You could do some hip swivels while you're there. You could even come in and out of it, right? You could land knees and then rest back. Listen into your hamstrings. They might have something to say here. And then go ahead and bring your gaze up to your fingertips and take a slow walk, just one footprint at a time, really honing in on the sensation in the backs of your legs, especially if you're practicing it's really early morning. All the way on up to the tippy top of your mat. Take a breath, Uttanasana. You can always land on your half fold, so Ardha Uttanasana, anytime you get that cue, to your blocks, to your shins, right? Or to the earth. It can be here as well, right? Up onto your fingertips. Revisit your fold, Uttanasana. And then go ahead and inhale to reach all the way up. Allow your gaze to follow your fingertips. And breathe your palms together to your heart. Samastitihi. This is our checking in with intention point. So if you like resting hands at your heart, stay right there. Some prefer a mountain pose, Tadasana, as their spot to check in, or palms over heart, like a Hridaya Mudra variation. And then go ahead and find a block. This can be done without a block. If what you're working with at home is books, if they're too heavy or too thin, you might want to just take it without, because we don't want anyone dropping heavy books on their toes. If you are with a block, take it above your knees and to the most narrow setting. Make sure it's well above your knees. Take a variation of Utkatasana up on the tippy toes. So let me turn so that you're better able to see. So on the lower body, we'll rock up onto tippy toes. These tippy toe balance ones are really fun and interesting on my new space, which has a carpeted floor. They're really good for the proprioception. So just practice that a few times and notice the block is here as a reminder, like our mindfulness reminder, right? Of where we're engaging or not engaging. So you might roll to your tippy toes and then your body's like, oh, I forgot about the block. In trying to balance, I forgot to find that inner squeeze. So if you can keep that turned on, you might find that as you roll onto your tippy toes, everything locks into this much more stable and secure expression. So remember that that block is there. Stay locked in on it. And then sink your sits bones back as in Utkatasana, but your heels will stay floating. They don't have to float high. And then inhale to lengthen. I'm still on the tippy toes. Exhale to slide down as in Utkatasana, a moksha variation with the heels raised. Inhale to lengthen. Exhale, drop it down. Inhale to center. Exhale to drop it down. Inhale to center. One more round. If you'd like, if you're feeling like you want to experiment, you can stay mindful with it. You might slide all the way down, staying up on tippy toes toward tiptoe squat, and then staying squeezed in with the inner thighs on your block. Inhale all the way back to standing. Great. Okay, lower your heels down, lower your arms down. You can set your block off to the side. Actually, before we move through a vinyasa, let's take both blocks to the front of the mat, somewhere within reach. Okay. Playing with that tiptoe movement a little bit further. Spread your right toes. Settle into your right foot as base. Familiar shape. Take your left ankle atop your right thigh. So it's that same pigeon form we've already seen, right? Like figure four in the lower body. Okay. And then draw your hands either to your heart or to your hips. You can lower down at the hips a little bit or a lot, up to you. And then roll up to your tippy toes. Ooh, and back to your heel. Roll up to your tippy toes and back to your heel. Let's do one more. Roll up to your tippy toes and back to your heel. Now lengthen your hips and find your blocks as you fold. You could stay right here. You could take it a little deeper if you want to pour the crown of your head toward the earth. And then go ahead and untangle your legs. Your feet can rest side by side. Take a dangle, maybe a yes nod or no nod. And with a rounded back and heavy arms, let's roll up as if you could stack an individual vertebra at a time. Roll your arms down your back. Settle back in. Checking in on your breath, on your body. Notice what's engaging, what's soft, what's working within your form, paying attention on purpose. And then this time your left foot becomes base. Your right ankle can come to upper thigh. Help it with your hands if you'd like. So you're finding that figure four in the lower body. And remember, your hands can settle in at your hips or at your heart. You can sink back into a chair a little bit, right? It could be higher, it could be really low. Regardless of variation, we're rolling up to the tippy toes and landing. So it could be just a little roll up to the tippy toes, left heel floats and lands. One more round, up to the tippy toes and land. Good. And then fold it forward, find your blocks. Remember, you can keep it wide. Your base leg can be a little bent depending on what the hamstrings have to say today. Or you could pour the crown of your head down and work to lengthen your left leg. Tune into sensation. It's hard for us to know what's most appropriate for the body if we're not paying attention on purpose and in the present moment, right? Mindfulness is the very foundation of fine tuning your yoga practice. And go ahead and lift your gaze. You can untangle your lower body, stand your feet side by side, take a fold, Uttanasana. And then find a halfway lift. Remember your options here. Exhale to root your palms, set your upper body foundation, and then step all the way on back into your plank. And since we'll take a first round of vinyasa here, let's land it down knees and then chest and then chin. So sits bones hover. Slide your heart through and take a baby cobra, Bhujangasana. Little bit of a hover with your heart. Exhale your forehead to the earth. And then lift up through table. Tuck your toes all the way on back, Adho Mukha Svanasana. 3 big breaths, downward facing dog. Feet are landing about hips width distance apart. And check in that your hands are about shoulders width apart. You can turn the fingers slightly out or in, depending on what your wrists need. Make sure all your knuckles are rooted. And then go ahead and lift your gaze forward. Step your right foot all the way on up. Remember, you can help with your hands, right? You always have that option. And then heel toe step the right foot toward the outer right edge of your mat. So both hands, you can see that both of my hands are to the inside of my right calf now. Land your left knee down. Let's begin there. I'm going to go ahead and grab my blocks, which you are free to do, and set them side by side. Let me turn here so you can see. Okay. So I've got, sure, I'm not going to kick over my plant stand. There we go. So I've got both of my blocks to the inside and I'm resting my hands upon them. This could be enough sensation for some. And if so, go ahead and stay. Some might want to leave your hands right here, but perhaps tuck your toes under at the back and hover your knee, right? Again, getting into sensation across the front of the hip. For some, it could look like this, coming down to forearms or elbows, with or without the lift of your back knee. Some might want to remove blocks and come all the way to the earth. So you tap into the expression that feels the most accessible, that feels like you're able to pay attention and stay present in the moment with the form. Take another breath. And then all variations, go ahead and come back to your palms, whether it's on blocks or to the earth. You can land your back knee down if it's not already there. Take your right hand. So with your index finger and thumb, you can make like an L shape. Hook your right heel. So this could be where it lands today for you. The effort is to drop your shoulder, right shoulder, to the inside of your knee. And this can be your practice today. If you're dipping down and you're like, my shoulder could maybe tuck under there, you might walk your right hand a bit farther out, walk your left hand a bit farther out. Maybe it starts to look like cactus arms. Maybe it starts to look like airplane arms. Maybe you take one of those upper body variations with your back knee afloat, perhaps. Try to keep your gaze down so the neck spine stays somewhat neutral versus cranking to lift your gaze. I know it's hard when you're watching a screen, but 3, 2, and 1. All variations, land your hands on down, land your back knee down. We're resettling to frame the front foot. Okay, so perhaps set your blocks off to the side if you're working with them. Heel toe step your right foot in. So you find your runner's lunge once again. Float your back knee. Step it on back. If you want to start building in chaturanga, your knees can stay hovering as you bend your elbows only to your ribs. And then maybe rest to the upper thighs for high cobra. This second round, long neck spine. Tuck your toes, roll up and over, Adho Mukha Svanasana here or child's pose. This is a great space to reconnect, recalibrate. Notice if you're paying attention. Follow the movement of your breath. And then lift your gaze forward. It's left foot that leads this time. Left foot leads, heel toe step to the outer edge of your mat. Bring both hands to the inside of your left foot. I'm going to land mine on blocks and begin to sink your hips forward. And you hang out here. You might come toward forearms. You might do this without the blocks altogether. You might take either of those variations with the back knee lifted. So lots of different expressions you can find. Settling into a sensation where you can stay present. Sometimes we go beyond the threshold and all of a sudden the mind is like, ow, ouch, what am I doing? How could I do that? And then we're not in the present moment anymore. So it's a fine line. You're feeling what there is to feel, and you're also able to be present. That is mindfulness. Go ahead and lift back up to your palms, all variations. Land your back knee if not already there. I'll spin for this one again. And we'll start with that same L shape of index finger and thumb. Cup your left heel, left hand to left heel. And so that helps us begin the work of dropping the left shoulder to the inside of the left knee. And this could be the play today in your practice. Maybe if the shoulder is dropping down, you can start to walk left fingertips out a little wider. If so, perhaps right fingertips wider. Could be here, could be cactus arms. They could hover like airplane arms. And any of those options may be done with the back knee afloat, perhaps. Squeeze in toward midline. Remember that action when we had the block between the upper thighs for 3, 2, 1. Lower your hands down. Lower your back knee. It's a heel toe step with your left foot back to center. We find that straightforward runner's lunge, right? Both hands framing your left foot. Hover your back knee. Step it on back, front foot on back. Here's your option for vinyasa or right to child's pose or direct path to down dog. If you want to start moving through that full vinyasa, this time as you lift, you hover on the tops of your feet as in Adho Mukha Svanasana or Urdhva Mukha Svanasana rather. And then breathe your hips up high, Adho Mukha Svanasana. 3 big breaths. Reel the mind in if it's wandered. Hover your gaze to your fingertips. It's a walk, a lunge, or a hop on up to the top of the mat. Halfway lift. Breathe it on down. Inhale to come all the way on up. And it's Samastitihi. Check-in point with hands at your heart or down at your hips. And then settle your arms toward Tadasana. Okay, let's build in another balance challenge here. So settle your way down into your right foot. Right foot will be your base. Hug your left knee up into your heart, as high or as low as you'd like it. And then all variations, settle your left knee to about even with your left hip. Come on out toward cactus arms. And we'll settle here at center initially, really reaching down through all edges of your right base foot, getting nice and strong in the right quadricep, the top of the right thigh. On your exhale, extend your left leg long. And then go ahead and bend once again, still hovering on just the right foot. Now with your exhale, slide your right elbow across midline as if moving into a twist and move forward a little bit so I don't knock over all my plants. So if you want to stack your right elbow atop your left knee, and then bring it all the way on back towards center. Good. Settle your left foot down beside your right. Take a breath. And then left foot becomes base. So same sequence, second side. Left foot becomes base. Hug your right knee way on up into your heart, as high or as low as you'd like. And then all expressions, drop it on down so it's more or less even with your hip. Right toes are active, dragging toward your shin. Find cactus arms. You are always welcome to keep hands at your hips for steadiness if you prefer. And then extend your right leg, toes drag back towards your calf. 2, 1, bend back into your right knee. And then exhale. The twist comes by left elbow leading as if you want to stack atop your right knee. Shiva twist. Get strong in your base leg, active in the top of the thigh. Slide it all the way back to center. And you can give your knee a hug in if you'd like. Land your right leg down beside your left. Take a breath. And then inhale your arms high. Exhale to hinge Uttanasana. It's a halfway lift, Ardha Uttanasana, and then exhale. Your option for Vinyasa here or direct path back to down dog. Child's pose is always right there. I'll meet you at downward facing dog in the next 3 breaths. And then everyone lift your gaze forward. Offer your right knee down between both hands as if heading toward pigeon or Ekapada Raja Kapotasana. So right knee is leading. We're going to take a little variation on it today though. Okay, so extend your right leg long. Those who practice with me frequently are like, thank you for not leading us into this, the normal route I usually take. We're going to take the mindful route today. So right leg is extending long toward the left edge of your mat, which means you're in a twist, right? You're revolved. You can be up on your tippy toes behind you. I'm not sure if you can see. Let me take you're up on your tippy toes behind you. And then either land to your palms and you can stay right here. Or if it's available in your form this morning, you might lower down toward forearms or even forehead. Some might be playing with the bind. In this case, it would be left peace fingers on over to the right big toe. So think Parvrita Trikonasana. It's kind of like revolved triangle or Trikonasana, but down on the ground. You have a little bit more stability. Notice sensation, especially that outer right hip, IT band zone, and take another breath. And then if bound, everyone go ahead and walk back to center now. Find your palms to lift. And we're going to come out the same way we went in. So first by bending into your right knee as if in pigeon, you can kind of float your weight back up onto your right shin with your left toes tucked under behind. Take a big step back right into your downward facing dog. There is space here for a vinyasa for those that would like. 3 breaths to explore that or child's pose or hang out here. And then let your gaze find the front of your mat. It's left knee this time, coming on down between both hands as if heading toward our pigeon. We're going to wiggle the left leg out long and then lower down to the outer left hip. So remember, you can stay up on the right tippy toes at the back. And it could stay up high here, right? You could be to your fingertips or your palms. You could start to lower down. So something perhaps more closely resembling this revolved Trikonasana, right? If you want to work with the bind this time, it's right peace fingers to left big toe and perhaps down to the earth. You could land onto your left ear. Check in with your breath. Although we're pausing here for a moment, it certainly does not mean that this is a easy or meditative posture. There could be a lot of sensation happening. Stick with it. And then all expressions, find your way back to your hands. You can stack up your arm joints for support. Bend into your left knee. Or rolling back into that pigeon expression. Tuck your right toes under behind you. And it's a big step back to downward facing dog. But remember, you've got space here as well for vinyasa or for child's pose for those that would like to take it. And then everyone go ahead and lift your gaze forward. It's a walk, a lunge, or a hop on up to the top of the mat. Halfway lift as you arrive. Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale to fold. And then inhale, go ahead and rise all the way up. Breathe your hands together to your heart. Samastitihi as our landing place for Sankalpa, for intention. A breath or two to land. Okay. So let's put some pieces together and explore a standing pose. Again, if you've got that strap, potentially super helpful. For my long limmy friends, limmy, if you can say that, but my longer limbed friends, perhaps toe bind is working better for your body. So that is absolutely an option. Have your strap handy. And just like we played with before, the right foot acts as your base and you can hug your left knee up and in. So this is where perhaps some will take the left peace fingers and find the left big toe, which means your arm comes to the inside of your left thigh. If the hip is saying no thank you, then you can lasso your strap below your toes and you've got both tails of your strap in your left hand. So regardless of variation, it's left hand doing the binding on this first variation. Okay. So bind where you'd like. Right hand can come to your right hip. You're sending your weight into all edges of your right foot. And you can hang out right here with the posture today if you'd like. Padangustasana variation. If you're feeling steady and you're feeling like you can maintain mindfulness in this standing balance, perhaps you extend the sole of your left foot forward. Eka Padangustasana. Now, perhaps if your leg is extended, you can do this swap with your leg extended, or you can bend into your knee and renegotiate. It's right hand this time to big toe or to tails of your strap. Sole of your left foot is extending, and maybe you reach your left fingertips back toward the back edge of your mat, adding in this revolved variation. Harita Eka Padangustasana. Slide everything back to center. Take a bend into your left leg if not already there. Mindfully settle down. Stand in your mountain. Scan and notice right side body, left side body, breath, mind. And here we go. Settle into all edges of your left foot. So just as we experienced before, hug the right knee in. This is where perhaps you find your big toe, right peace fingers to big toe, or otherwise hugging your knee and you lasso the strap underneath your toes. Hang out here. Your left hand can find your hip perhaps. If you're feeling steady and you'd like to work with extension, finding an unmoving point to set your eyes, which will help settle your mind, perhaps extend your right leg long, sole of your foot toward the front edge of your mat. Eka Padangustasana. Strong in your upper left thigh to support stability in your knee. So many things going on, and yet our main task is to just stay present. So I say simple but not easy. If you'd like, if your leg is extended, perhaps you take a swap with your leg extended. Otherwise, bend into your knee to resettle. It's left hand to right foot this time, or left hand to straps. Reach your right fingertips out behind you, perhaps, as you head toward that revolve variation, Parita Eka Padangustasana. Maybe your gaze shoots over your right fingertips. Strong in the left thigh, present even through the wobbles, or if you fall out, present as you come back in. Swivel your way back to center. You can bend into your right knee down. Now settle your right foot to the earth and stand in your mountain. Well done. Breathe your hands all the way on up overhead. Exhale your way down, Uttanasana. It's a halfway lift on your inhale. And exhale, fold. And you can step back towards your knees. Touch your big toes together. Let your knees come out wide toward either edge of your mat for a wide-legged child's pose, Balasana. Rest down to your forehead or your chin. Take a few gentle breaths. And then slide your hands on up towards your knees. For some folks, Supta Virasana, or as Yin calls it, saddle pose, is done from here with the big toes touching. My body is not one of those. So I will take my feet a little bit wider to settle my sits bones down between my feet. If you're one who it feels better for your hips, knees, and ankles to have the big toes touch, then go for that. We'll start. You can also set up on a block or a cushion here as well. And this might already feel like a lot across the tops of your thighs and hips. So if that's the case, stay right here. No need to add anything extra. If you'd like, you can begin to head back towards your palms. You might head back towards your forearms. You might head back towards the earth. And for some, perhaps your arms want to come up and overhead. Check in with your knees. If you notice your knees are hovering or floating, you're going to take it back by a notch or two. Smooth and even breath, even when there's a lot of sensation, maybe even more so when there's a lot of sensation. And then go ahead and bring your hands toward ankles or shins if not already there. Roll first onto elbows, forearms, and then up to your palms. You can lean your weight towards your left hip, help your right foot around, and bring your right foot to the top of your left thigh. I'll come around this way so you can see. So we're in a pinwheel shape. The left knee might come a little bit wider. You might even rest to the big toe edge here. Swivel around so that both hands come out beyond your right thigh. If you've got a bolster or a pillow, that can be a great addition here. Start to walk your hands down. So soft, more restorative twist now. To hands, to forearms, or down onto a pillow or cushion. A few soft breaths to settle in. And allow this to be our final supportive twist, a soft twist, as we soften out of the practice. And slide it up towards center. Oh, I wish we had time to do a nice long restorative, like 20-minute hold. That's for another day. All right, we're going to interlace the fingers behind the back. Press your knuckles toward the earth and find a lift of your heart before we spin on over to the second side. If you'd like, you might even lift your gaze. And then go ahead and release that. Offer your left foot to the front now and your right foot alongside you, perhaps on the big toe edge or with toes tucked under. So it's that pinwheel form. This time your hands will walk on over toward your left hip, beyond your left thigh. Take a cushion or bolster if you'd like, and start to walk out. So find your hands or your forearms, maybe all the way on down toward that pillow or cushion if you'd like. Watch your breath without judgment. And then go ahead and walk it all the way back towards center. Again, interlacing your fingers. Notice if you've got a dominant side, we usually all do. Take the opposite thumb to the top. And then press your knuckles to the earth, lift your heart, perhaps allow the weight of your head to fall back. And go ahead and release. Invite your right foot to the front and set yourself up in a seat for meditation. So, again, that could look like elevating your hips for some. If you're comfortable right on down at the mat, then that's great as well. You can stay there. Otherwise, prop up on a blanket or pillow. I'd like to offer Adi Mudra, the kind of primal one, as in Adi Shakti. Um, and you do this, it's very simple, by drawing your thumbs in, and you'll make a fist around your thumbs, but your thumbs are folded in so much that you can touch the base of your pinky finger, and then wrap your other fingers around. You can rest your fists. They can be soft fists atop your thigh for Adi Mudra. And this is one for calming the nervous system and quieting the mind and helping us kind of come home to our natural state of presence and mindfulness. Before we settle down toward Shavasana, just taking a few quiet moments for Pratyahara, for withdrawing the senses, or Dhyana, Dharana, concentration and meditation. Mindfulness is a practice that seeks to hook us in more wholly, more fully into the experience of living moment to moment. It is an encompassing awareness of thoughts, feelings, sensations, senses, environment, interaction, communication, accountability, and non-judgment. So mindfulness is not the absence of all or a blank mind, but rather the acceptance and sitting with the fullness of your experience in the present moment on purpose and non-judgmentally. Or as Jack Kornfield has said, it does not reject experience. Mindfulness does not reject experience. It lets experience itself be the teacher. It does not reject experience. It lets experience be the teacher. Allow yourself a few more moments in this quiet seat to cultivate a deepening sense of presence. And if you find yourself diving deep, feeling very present, you might stay in this meditation seat as your final point of integration. If you prefer Shavasana, I welcome you to mindfully release the mudra. Slide anything out from underneath you that you might be seated upon, and go ahead and lower all the way down to the earth. So, practitioner's choice, you can rest on down towards Shavasana with any support that you like as your final place to land in integration. You can also stay in your seated meditation. And pause in deep presence. I'll cue you when it's time to shift. Though, since this is a recording as well, for those of you tuning in later, you are very welcome to extend your meditation or your Shavasana to the time that feels most appropriate for you. Begin now to lengthen out either end of your breath. And rock your head from side to side. Maybe trace your fingertips, whether you're seated in meditation or lying down in Shavasana. Start to find some very gentle and mindful movements for your form. If you'd like, you can bring your arms up and overhead and take a last big full body stretch like you're just waking up for the morning. And then those down on the earth, roll over to your favorite side and take a few breaths. And come on up to land in a final seat where we can join to seal the practice. If you'd like, you might fold your palms to your heart as in Anjali, if that feels like a good place to land. Hands can absolutely rest over your heart or in any other gesture that feels most appropriate. And allow your head to rest low in a silent gesture of gratitude. Thank yourself for showing up, the hardest part of any practice, and giving always so much thanks to the roots and traditions and the long, long history of this practice, for its infinite number of gifts and lessons, for supporting us in deepening our comprehension of mindfulness and present moment living today. Thank you all so much for joining. Enjoy what's left of your day ahead, and I will see you all hopefully back again soon. Thank you. See you next time. Bye bye.